New at 10 o'clock tonight, tomorrow will mark 60 years since Dr. Martin Luther King delivered a powerful message before 8,000 people on the campus of ASU. The speech, called Religious Witness for Human Dignity, centered on his push for civil rights for African Americans. A month later, the historic Civil Rights Act was signed into law. But tonight we reflect on the impact still being felt from that visit some 60 years later. In the heart of downtown Phoenix, historic Tanner AME Church continues to write a story nearly 140 years old.
I knew that it had historical significance in the community.
Pastor Benjamin Thomas has led this congregation since 1991 and learned many of the stories from some of the city's most influential black leaders who were members.
Calvin C. Good, Clovis Campbell Sr.
60 years ago, in June 1964, those Phoenix pioneers packing into the pews of the church with hundreds more standing outside to hear Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. talk about the growing need for civil rights for African Americans. King's message, delivered from the same pulpit that Thomas offers words of hope and inspiration every single Sunday. He calls it an honor.
What are some of the things that you were able to, learn from them, from that experience and that moment from his visit here?
One of the things that I learned is that Dr. King, when he was here, said he really wanted to connect with the community.
Dr. King's visit to Tanner coming just before he delivered a speech before 8,000 people on the campus of ASU that very same day.
You kind of forget how much controversy he generated and how a lot of people didn't want him coming to their town.
Dr. Kinja Hassan is an assistant vice president of government and community engagement at ASU and says at the time it was a big risk by then President G. Homer Durham to give permission for King to speak on campus.
Our black population is very small, but they are willing to take a stand.
That visit coming just 1 month before the historic Civil Rights Act was signed into law by then President Lyndon Johnson.
I think a lot of Arizonans may not think of their state as some place where advocacy of that nature happens, but it very much is.
Thomas says disparities in education, healthcare, housing, and voting rights were some of the big issues that Dr. King fought for. Those issues are still being fought, he says, to this day. And 60 years after that visit, the story of the impact is still being written.
Because through his life and that movement, a lot of doors have been opened.
Many events taking place on the campus of ASU tomorrow in honor of that day.